Okay, it's round 3 for doing knock sensors on this. Now why is it round 3? What am I doing wrong? Well, let me share with you my learning experience here. You want to use a AC Delco knock sensor, and the reason why is they're a little microphone basically that listens to the engine, and then it can retard the timing. There's 3 things that you really need to do. The original wiring on these wire harnesses is terrible. You can tell there's a little clip here, we'll show you that in a minute. But there's a pigtail that goes underneath there. It's just 2 wires that feed to the computer. It grounds at the base, and so there's 2 issues that really happen here. The wires suck, so you want to replace those, and water gets in the holes, rusts them out, and you lose the ground. So that being said, you know, your computer can't read the voltage if it's just 1 wire. I mean, this is DC, you know, and it's an AC current coming from these, but you still have to have a ground on these ones because it's a single wire per sensor. So basically, here's what happens with these. You get water that gets introduced into there, and then it gets in the holes and it corrodes it and you lose your ground. Or you have another problem, and that's that the wires are just brittle and they vibrate and die. Now if you put in an aftermarket sensor, you got another problem, and that's the 3rd thing. So here's what you need to do. Time to pay attention. You need to do a half moon dam of silicone around the thing. You just do almost all the way around and leave the downside, the downhill slope side open on both of them, and that way water can drain out. Now wait a second, you got to get rid of the foam in the back part for the dam it up good. But what happens is water inevitably gets in here, and then that foam holds it, and it basically creates a dam that backfills the water into the back oxygen sensor, knock sensor hole. And that's what originally was the problem here, I think. The first time I got into this, basically I had a dirty hole, really rusted, with a clean sensor, and a really rusted sensor in a clean hole up in here. Like they'd been switched, like they were shipped. It rusted, both of them, they switched them, and then just left them that way. So sometimes the engine's produced in a different place. By way of recap, use AC Delco sensors, replace the wiring for this, clean out the rust of the hole, and then prevent water from getting in by doing your half moon, and then get rid of that foam in the back and let the water drain out the backside. You do those things, you're just going to be okay. We've got the computer hooked up, we've got the key in the on position. I've bumped this to the off position to turn the headlights off. They come on and want to drain your battery, you don't need that. Trying to read codes. If you turn off the fan, if your battery dies, basically it stinks because it clears the codes that you're trying to read. So automatic headlights are not your friend when you're a mechanic. Read codes, stored codes. It's going to say P0327 knock sensor 1 circuit low. That's interesting. 1 or single sensor. That's the front one this time. Last time I got into there, it was the back one. They keep switching on me. So anyway, we're putting 2 new AC Delco sensors in. We've read the codes, cleared the codes. We have our parts. Everything's ready to begin. So what I do first is I lay out a bunch of magnetic tooled trays, just like this. So negative terminal's coming off. Let's get it started. Spin it out the rest of the way. Good to go. But pull the intake hose off. I've got a 90-degree pair of needle nose pliers. I've got a 90-degree pick, and I'm just going to start going nuts on this thing. I like to leave the hose clamp on the hoses. Just give that a little twist, and it'll usually come free. Grab this one 2 hands, pop it, switch to 10mm, pull the throttle body, 3 nuts, and just drop those into your container. I leave the coolant hose on this. This is a 2005 with a 5.3. You can get away with it on this one. Other ones you may not. If you have a telescopic magnet, then that's a great thing to have. Something like this. I'll usually just take that beginning of a job, just hang it on the hood, and that way it's just right there. To the pick, I got 90 degrees on one side. I'll put a link in the description. But you basically just use this for all of your little electrical connections. I use it as a pry tool for the little tabs. You have to pull all of the plugs off on all of your injectors on both sides. As I pull this off, you'll find that I run out of space. So you can hook them in there and just kind of twist it a little bit. That'll give you enough room to where you can pry this off and just kind of lay it aside. That last one's kind of stubborn, but you can get it. So out of desperation, not able to figure out why the heck. In fact, you can just spin these off if you have an E-socket set. 90-degree pliers, once again, just grab the hose, twist it around, hook the back side and pull for your vacuum line. We'll unplug our little purge solenoid evap guy. So I'm pushing this one from passenger side to driver side and twisting as I go. You don't want to break this, but it's not exactly coming off. I think we got a vacuum on it. So I'm just gonna bump that with my pick. Probably shouldn't have to do that, but there we go. Now it's not sucking onto it. Get that pulled this way. Comes off a lot easier when it's not vacuumed on, huh? Put the cap on so we don't forget. Nice and snug. Just to undo a lot of this harness stuff, back to 10 millimeters. We'll buzz the harness stuff off. Now our goal here, there's time to pay attention. Our goal here is to sneak this intake out this way. So basically all we're doing is we're disconnecting everything that we can to get it to slip out this way. So all of these harnesses are going to go up this direction, and then we're going to undo all of our fasteners down both sides and just slip it out to get access to your knock sensors. Get a ratcheting wrench for this little tight squeeze part here. And why am I pulling this one off? Well, a lot of our harnesses are routed underneath of it, and they're just all married up, so we're just trying to get those out of the way. And I just pile everything, the hoses, everything on top of each other. That way going back on, I don't have to think about it. I just pull from the top of the pile. So this is our harness for the knock sensors. So we're gonna pull that off and unplug it. I'm gonna unplug a manifold pressure sensor right there. We'll start pulling these up and just getting an idea for what it's gonna take to get them out. Some people will pull this because it's easy to see. It's easier to work with if you pull the vacuum for the power brake booster from the back side. I'm gonna grab some clips here while we're in the neighborhood. Now there's this guy here, this hose that's going to be a real pain in the neck getting out. So watch where it is now. It goes underneath the fuel rail. So when you go to put it back in and when you go to pull it out, you want to make sure that you slide along that. It'll make your life a lot easier in the short run. See how much of this is already off and out of the way, and then this is clear. This goes underneath the wire harness too. So just, you know, like I say, be mindful as you're taking it apart, those couple of things. So we've got most all this stuff out, a lot of the hard parts done. So we're gonna start getting in on these injector plugs. We're going to start to address the fuel injection now. We're going to unplug all the injectors and then just the line that connects all of them. You need a quick disconnect tool. These are my favorite. I'll leave a link in the description. The reason I like these is because they're hinged clear back there. You know, if they're hinged up here, they're really hard to work with, hard to get on. But you can see that it's all keyed up to where it just closes completely. So you got a nice closure on it, goes on to the line easy, and it hinges from clear back here. What that looks like as you're working is this. Click, wiggle, push, and you just push the line off and you're done. I mean, they're just super duper easy. If you have some caps that you can throw on there, that's great. You can cap this, you can put it up behind your harness or whatever. That'll save you from breathing all those gasoline fumes. So here's a fuel injector plug, and they push down and pull up like that, and then you can see the little tab right there. I like to use my little 90-degree tool like that. You just put it alongside. I put one finger on the back side. I put the pick here. The injector will twist a little bit, but it should come off. I hate the word should. The word should sucks. That means things aren't working. There's a lot of possibility of failure. So while you got this out, this one got pulled up a little too high. It shouldn't take forever, but do take your time enough to where you don't do something you regret and break something. So we got a big multi-plug here. You can just leave that where it's at. All right, so we're just going through and we're just pulling all of our plugs. So push down on the whole plug, pull your clip up, push it button in. All right, so everything's unbuttoned on this side that I can see. Should be able to get the harness out of the way. And that's the whole thing that's really holding you down, your fuel line, and then your harness is here. This one could probably stay intact. I'll tuck that back over here. Looks like we're out of the way great. So we pretty much just need to unbolt the intake manifold at this point. So the injectors and everything come up with it. All of these fuel rails, all this stuff comes up together and it comes off really easy. Of course, I'm talking about the vacuum line. There's a red ring right there. So you push the hose into it, push the ring with a screwdriver or something, and the whole thing will pop out. You can use your 90-degree pick for this too. You just use the side of it, like the corner. Alright, so the red part goes to the manifold. Okay. These are all laid back there. Looking good. So next, we've got our wire harness disconnected for our NOx sensors. It's out of the way. Our fuel line's disconnected. I'm going to at least put plastic on this. And it's just 8mm and just zip, 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 zip. There's 5 on each side. Some of them you got to do by hand. Most of them you can get with an air ratchet or an impact. If your engine compartment's really dirty, full of sand, all that kind of stuff, you want to blow it out about now. So we're going to start to loosen that upper manifold from the lower one. When you do that, there's a potential for things to fall in. Compressed air, you know, a lot of people say don't car wash these because of the, you know, the whole NOx sensor problem thing. But compressed air is a real good thing to blow all the crud out so it doesn't get in your engine. So I've got an 8mm on an impact gun. This little DeWalt 20 volt. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. You just cruise through with an extension. Going through and loosening all these first. And you'll notice that you've got 2 that are real close together on this side, and then they're spread out over here. That means you're going to have 2 that are close together on this back side. There's one underneath where the fuel disconnect is. That's an easy one to overlook. If you didn't know it was there, you'd miss it. Okay, so this should be free and should be able to come out. I'm going to watch this hose right here for the vacuum, the PCV vacuum, and then I'm also going to watch this one here. So this hose is going to go that way, and this hose is going to come this way, and we'll meet in the middle beneath an old Georgia pine. So this one's unhooked, good to go. This one's unhooked, good to go. We'll do that 3 or 4 times on the way out. I think I just knocked my socket down. Extension all the way down is good. If you hear it hit the floor, it means that you're not going to have to search the engine compartment for it. That's good. So I'm just going to work this through. This will pivot 90 degrees, the end part. You'll want to do that. You see I've got a little vacuum cap or plug on the port for the fuel. You're going to be glad you did that. I always save them when I do a fuel pump or anything, and then I'll have them at times like this when I need them. We've got our 2 NOx sensors, we've got our wire harness. This is the main event, main attraction. We'll pick up any crud that's there. And this was cleaned out pretty recently. As I said, this is round 3 for me on this. I added a ground wire here, thinking that's what was causing the intermittent problem. It was just the sensors, I think, in hindsight. So we're going to pop these up, roll them back a little. Boy, that burped. So you need to clear these enough to where you can get them off. I've got these 90-degree pliers. And it helps squeeze the plug on the sides. Get you a good clean disconnect without hurting anything. Once this one's free, you can lay the other one back. So basically do the front one first, and then do the other one. So I'm going to be checking these and making sure that the pin looks good. Make sure it's not already corroded or some problem. So looking down in the holes, here's the back side one. There's your oil sending unit, there's your camshaft position sensor in case you're wondering. But this one, you can see where it's had water and crud in it. And here's the other one. So these kept switching back and forth. It said that this one was bad originally and it was rusty in a clean hole, and then this one was a clean sensor in a dirty hole. Said it was fine. Put 2 new sensors in it, cleaned it up a little bit, apparently not enough, and it just keeps switching back and forth. It said that this one was bad after that, so I got in there again, switched that one out, and then now it's saying that this one's bad. I mean, it's just like a game of whack-a-mole. Just really been frustrating and a lot of work, but you can avoid all of that by using AC Delco knock sensors and cleaning it up good, and then doing the little horseshoe crescent moon cleanup. Now there's foam that goes right here, and that can stay put. That is actually useful. And then there's foam back here that needs to be removed so that it can drain back all the way back without building up water there and getting into this hole. It sounds like the big bad wolf's outside trying to blow me down, doesn't it? Got a howler of a storm. So a 22mm socket, I'm gonna pop out the old ones. I'm gonna do a little housekeeping, little cleaning with a Dremel, and then I'm gonna put it back in. 15 foot-pounds is the setting your torque wrench should be on to put these in. And then on the intake manifold, it's 44 inch-pounds, followed by, I usually go no more than 80 inch-pounds for the final torque. So here's a couple of brand new looking sensors. They look awesome. Both marked A. Both look like they're fine. But looking at this one, see there's a bunch of white crud on the connector. And this one said it was fine. This was bank 2. This is the front one that's supposed to be bad. It's bank 1. Would you like to see inside my holes? I was afraid you would ask for that. So let's take a look and see. So this one, for the most part, looks pretty clean. And this one looks like something from the bottom of the ocean. Looks pretty bad. We'll clean it up so that we can get a good seal on the top, and we'll clean out the inside, blow it out with compressed air, and get a Dremel with a wire brush down in there and clean it up. So here's where the air goes in. This is the front. We turn it around like this. And see, this is the back. This is the piece of foam that needs to be pulled out and discarded. This prevents drainage and causes a hole to fill full of water. So throw that away. I'm using some long needle nose pliers and a rag. I grab the rag, I stick it down in and wipe it around. Look at all the rust that's found in that back hole from that piece of foam holding all the water in there. But like I say, you just take this. I like to double it up just a little bit. You just take it and then rotate the pliers in your hand to go around the base there. This gets all the grease and yuck and stuff out first. I don't want to plug up my wire brush on the Dremel, but you can see it's pretty rusted down in there. That could cause a poor ground. So you blow out the front hole, no big deal. Go to blow out the back hole. No big deal, there's a lot of rust in there. So here's the bank 1 hole, my extra ground wire I attempted to get good connection with. You can see that there's a rubber seal down in the bottom. I don't know if that's dampening your seal. I think it's for the valley pan to seal against the base. Anyway, look in here, and that one's just gross. But it's better than it was. And now, when I spray in there, let's see if I can get a good shot of this. See all the rust dust that I've removed. I've cleaned it up a lot. I think I showed you earlier, but these come in a bag, which means they probably bounce around. You know, I'd rather have them in a bag or in paper in a box. Would be ideal. Just hope these didn't get bashed around. Having doubts. Doubt everything when you're in here because it's like now or never. Or the next time. This is round 3. Who am I fooling? So I think I'm just going to do the dam thing and you know, water directing dam. And as I said before, you just torque these down to 15 foot-pounds. So this is the part where we just build a dam. So what we do is start here and just make a good heavy bead all the way around the thing. Notice I'm not really even sealing it down. They seal pretty good on their own. We're just diverting the water. The biggest thing is to just pull that piece of foam out. So you leave a little opening in the bottom so any moisture that gets in there can trickle out. That's what it's about. So this is just any water or moisture, condensation, any of that kind of stuff that gets to this point basically gets ushered to the back of the engine. I don't know what happened with my wire way. It's got to be there now. I'm just piling it up. And if you were to do it smooth and have the water run around it, that'd probably be ideal, but there we go. So we got a little drain at the base of it. You could even do a thing to the side and just say, escort you very much to this side. Basically anything that drains off the front one, you want it to go off the back. So that's not going to hurt anything, and it could help, so there you go. There's my interpretation, my artist's interpretation on this TSB FUBAR cluster. Fun time. I think we're good. So we'll throw the intake back on. Installation is the same as reverse with one exception, and that's that you want to get a little bit of gas on their O-rings when you click that on to ensure that it doesn't leak. Other than that, it's all happy, happy, joy, joy, joy. Hope you enjoyed my video. Be sure to click thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm sorry, I'm just not in a good mood doing this the third time. I'm not as bubbly and happy as I normally would be. What can I say? I'm just happy to have this done. Cheers. Oh yeah, tightening sequence. Somebody's going to ask about that. As with anything else in the automotive world, you got 5 bolts here, so you want to start in the middle, and then you can either do an X pattern or picnic table pattern, you know, like the camping symbol of a picnic table, up, across, and back down. Like basically you just want to start in the middle and work your way out. So you can do a spiral, or you can do the X picnic table cross thing, whatever works for you, 44 inch-pounds. And then follow that up with 80 inch-pounds. Inch-pounds, dang it, not foot-pounds. So, hate to have you snap your stuff. Cheers. See you on Wednesday. P.S. A nice thing about using these caps from a fuel pump, like a new fuel pump, is that it holds the gas on these. So you can use that, especially the smaller one, because if you take it off and tip it down, it's full of gas, and you can use that to wet the line here for your evap, and that'll keep your O-rings nice. You don't have an evap leak. Same thing with your fuel line here. Just remember that your PCV, positive crankcase ventilation hose, goes on the outside of the fuel rail but under the wire harness. And then this guy, just remember that this will twist 90 degrees, you know, tip up and tip down. I angle the whole manifold when I slide it on so that it feeds up through here and where it goes underneath the fuel rail. If you're reusing the wire harness, say this is round 2 for you, it's a great idea to use some electrical connection cleaner and just clean that up. Mine had a little bit of white crud. Don't know what it was, but it's not there now. And the other didn't have it, so I'd rather have them be uniform so that they don't tattletale on each other. He did it wrong, he did it, you know, like the 2 sensors to the computer. I think that's a lot of what I had here with aftermarket sensors, is they didn't read equally, so that's what we're going for. So you've got 4 nuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3. You got your 5 bolts down each side for a total of 10. And if you start this up and all of a sudden it just starts making the most awful hissing noise, there's a couple things it could be. It could be your PCV hose isn't connected back here or up here. It could be that your power brake booster one didn't get put back in. Spit on that before you put it in so it's greased up. Or use gasoline if you want. Or this hose isn't hooked up. You've got this one down here, and then there's this one, but anyway, that one only goes now and then, like when you first start it up and then it goes out. But just make sure all your hoses are on, make sure all 8 of your injector plugs are back in, clip them back into their little spots here and here, here and here, and be sure to hook up your fuel line. We already talked about that, and put the clip in. This part goes in first, and then you click in the back part like that. And we've got our wire, all that's hooked up and secure, nothing's pinched, everything's happy and pretty there. So we can put our idiot hood back on or throw it in the garbage. I would love to throw every idiot hood in the garbage that ever was, but I can't, because I'd probably go to jail. I hate these things. Anyway, you just zip this down on with your 8mm. Hand tight's fine. I'm doing this in the wrong order. I hope you guys are catching me and saying, hey, you can't do that, because then you can't get your tool in to do your hose. So we got to do the hose first. But that's pretty much it. I'm throwing in all this extra detail and everybody's tuning out, but like, oh, we got this. But we'll just put these in. Make sure you click in your little pine tree thing. Say it doesn't start. What's the matter? How come my car won't start? Gosh dang it. It's because you didn't put the relay back in. It's this one, the middle one that's little. Little. And then it should start for you. Now all that gas got spilled out, especially if you didn't cap it. It's got a lot of air to push, so it might be hard to start when you first start it up. That's to be expected. I'll get the hose on, I'll show you what mine sounds like. Threw on an 8mm socket, we tightened this one, or 5/16, same thing. This one, we put our pin in, put our idiot hood on, bolted that down, no rattles. Rattles in the engine are bad when you just did a knock sensor, given that they detect vibration. So we got a vent hose going out the back, and we didn't connect the battery. There's always something, huh? That's another reason why your car may not start. Make sure to turn the key off before you do that, huh? This battery's getting old. Okay, I bet we'll have better luck this time. So turn the key on, things look better already. I'm going to turn it a couple times. Let that fuel pump prime. Yeah, we'll start it up. It's like a Christmas tree in there, isn't it? Got to charge up the airbag and you got to put your seatbelt on. It looks pretty good. We don't have any loud hissing or anything. We already covered all the vacuum leaks. If you try to start this without this in place, you'll find that your mass airflow sensor, it'll let it start at first. It'll go into just like a safe mode, and then it'll go to looking for signal from this, and if it's not there, it'll go kaput. Of course, your throttle body, plug that in, you know what's going on there. You plugged in your purge control solenoid, your evap, slurps up all of the stuff from your charcoal canister when you start up. Sounds good. Looks like we did a good job. Way to go, team.